Hello, welcome back to Statman Dave Clips. Today we're going to go through what went wrong in Manchester United's 5-0 defeat to Liverpool. This video is of course brought to you in partnership with SofaScore. Their app is banging. We're going to use it for our analysis today. So get into the comments below and go and check that out. But anyway, it's time to dive in. So I think the first thing we've got to look at today is, of course, how Manchester United set up versus Liverpool. A very disjoint team once again at Old Trafford. In terms of Liverpool, they set up with a 4-3-3, as you would come to expect from a Jurgen Klopp side. But the interesting part of Jurgen Klopp's team selection was not going with Sadio Mane, but going with Diogo Jota. And I think that made quite an impact on the game, with Diogo Jota playing more of it as an inside forward than as kind of an inverted winger that we see with Mohamed Salah and, of course, Sadio Mane. This meant the build-up was slightly different for Liverpool. The shape was a little bit different, and Firmino kind of performed that old-school role as a false nine and was so good. I think one of the big things for Liverpool with Firmino's ability to drop, to find pockets of space, to get behind Scott McTominay and Fred really opened up Manchester United in all phases of play, in the transition, in possession, but it was Firmino's ability to roam around, receive the ball and link the attack that was so important for Liverpool. But in terms of the Man United team selection, I think one of the big things that going into the game, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should have done is play a back three. I think the big thing with Liverpool and how they attack and how they playing a back three not only allows you to press high with your wing backs, but the big thing is when Liverpool switch that point of attack, when they're attacking, you've got an extra man on the back post. Big things that we're going to go through right now and look at how United really lost the game. So I think first and foremost, we've got to take a look at that first goal. It was a simple goal for Liverpool to score. I think one of the big things for Manchester United is in terms of the press and how broken it was. So let's kind of set the teams up, kind of how it looked from a tactical perspective. So at that point, Liverpool building out from the back with Virgil van Dijk. Man United were a little bit left-sided in terms of their setup. Trent was super duper high on the Man United backline. Firmino, Jota, and Salah, very narrow. The midfielders quite high in Naby, Keita and Milner behind the Man United midfield. Andy Robertson in a high and wide position. One of the problems with United in terms of this move, Ronaldo was sort of the left side of Konate. Rashford was actually in a good defensive position, a little bit deeper. Bruno Fernandes was inside. But Jordan Henderson was a little bit free in a situation, which meant Fred had to slightly jump out of position. What the issues with United in terms of this pressing structure right now for me, what you do in European football, either you show your opponents to go wide or you force them inside. But that midfielder in the 4-2-3-1 has a really important job. If you're showing them inside, they have to come from out to in to force that ball narrow into the centre part of the pitch where you should have numbers. The big thing with Manchester United is Mason Greenwood was quite lazy in how he was pressing, came from a central way, which meant that pass out to Andy Robertson was completely on. Consequently, what that meant for Manchester United, if they wanted to continue the engagement, meant that Aaron Wan-Bissaka would have to close a massive distance down. Wan-Bissaka should not have gone. So we've got two problems already. Number one, if Mason Greenwood is in the correct position, if you're forcing the opponent wide, the pressure should actually come from the centre forward for the ball to go outside, and then you step in and engage with your wide player. Man United didn't do that. Bruno didn't engage. Greenwood was engaging the ball, which left Robertson in massive space. Consequently, the reaction from Manchester United, Aaron Wan-Bissaka tried to force the press or force that engagement, which opens up massive space. We can already start to see the numbers problem here at the back for Man United in this part of the pitch, that you've already got a situation where not only there's players on the blind side of Scott McTominay and Fred in midfield, but Liverpool have 3 strikers, 1 wing back, and then the 2 centre mids on United's kind of back three defenders. Obviously in the transition, McTominay and Fred are going to join this kind of battle, but the situation, that hole is already there. So if we kind of like have a look at the move as it's flowing through, the engagement, as soon as Robertson engages the ball, both Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka are dropping over there. Jota straight away comes into a position where he can receive the ball, forcing Lindelof to move over. The issue for United is they don't move quick enough across to close that down. When your press gets bypassed like that, you have to either play offside, you have to go man to man. You basically have to, that switch has to go in your head where you've got to be super aggressive. The issue for United was because of Trent Alexander-Arnold's wide positioning, Mohamed Salah's narrow positioning. You had this issue where Maguire kind of stuck on Salah instead of moving over and actually picking up Roberto Firmino and allowing Shaw to drop in. One of the big problems now, of course, is we have this massive bit of space, not only for Trent, but of course for Naby Keita to move into. And if you do look through the goal, you see that Jota does receive the ball wide. He simply drops it inside to Roberto Firmino that's come off the line. There's some combination play. Of course, Salah spins in behind the defence. He's found by Roberto Firmino, and of course now then the defence obviously drops back. Shaw's already pulled over, wait for the right moment, and then as we mentioned before, that movement from midfield, Naby Keita makes that late run, 1-0 Liverpool. And that was a problem with the press. The press was so broken. Not only was it broken with Aaron Wan-Bissaka being too high, shouldn't have to go. Obviously, Jota's providing that bit of movement in behind, but also with Maguire not being touch tight to Firmino, allowing him to turn. Then Luke Shaw playing on Mohamed Salah, but also being too narrow for Naby Keita to simply slide in and put the ball into the back of the net. A big problem for United. The press broken, but that wasn't. That was part of a lot of problems. One of the big things I thought with United as well in terms of through the game with their setup, and we know that Liverpool like to throw bodies forward and they do attack, but United defended really, really narrow, and that was one of the problems that we consistently saw in the final third, that basically what was happening was Jota and Salah were pinning the back four, and Firmino just had all the time in the world to pick up space, wide left, wide right, receive the ball to feet. But United's back four was not only pinned, but it was pinned in a narrow way, which means those overloads and those up the back post are always on when Liverpool attack, and it's a massive frustration for me because the big thing was player back three, change these things up. We take a look at that second goal. And it's a similar situation where the defense is far too narrow and the overload at the back post comes again. It's not the cleanest goal that we're ever going to see from Liverpool, but the way that United are, have defended it and how they try and react to that moment. Again, it's on this right-hand side where Wan-Bissaka is so slow to kind of get out from Robertson. Greenwood's so slow to engage as well that you have a problem where the space between Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof is absolutely huge. And Liverpool have rotated. Roberto Firmino's, in fact, looking for that ball into feet. Jota's spinning in behind. And it's not even Jota. It's James Milner's in a high position. Roberto Firmino is off looking for a ball option. And it's this same problem that you've now got issues that need to be dealt with. Of course, the ball that comes in is very, very, very poor from Harry Maguire, very, very poor from Luke Shaw. But the same problem happens where if United's defence was wider after that ball goes in, maybe you're dealing with the threat of Trent on the overlap. Obviously, with Naby Keita, Trent the ball's dropped in. Keita's made that forward motion to kind of receive to feet. And then the same situation where the defence has been pulled and it is dead narrow. And it's this constant theme in the game where Trent is free on the overload. And again, similar situation with United. Defending too narrow and, not enough bodies defending. We're looking at 6 players defending for Manchester United. And that was the third goal. Similar type of thing where you're looking at Liverpool and how they're pulling you around and how they're kind of moving the ball around. And it's exactly the same. It's the same problem. Same problem once again with Liverpool that you can pull with a Firmino, drop it wide, but you're still pinning the back four every single time you pin in the back four. And I think that's, credit to Jurgen Klopp and the use of the false nine in this game is that the issue that United saw with the pressure and how these things work, it's always that same kind of issue for United that Fred and McTominay would go over and they'd simply just get bypassed by simple football, simple, forward, back, through type motion. And that was a constant thing for United. Then you're looking at Firmino dropping 1-2s with Salah in there, the ball breaking, and they're scoring another goal. And it's a number of situations. This two-man midfield for United is covering so much ground. And you think if you play 5 at the back, not only have you got an extra body to drop into a wing-back position, but you've got another man you can throw into midfield. So you've got better coverage from a horizontal perspective. And that is how Liverpool open United up so many times. Not having enough bodies in a horizontal plane for United. Not defending properly in the 4-4-2 defensive shape in there. And again, so simple for Liverpool to score, another goal. And this sort of theme continually happened with, with however the sort of the play was happening, with Firmino receiving to feet for the fourth goal. It was far too easy for Liverpool to shut down and to deal with. And it's one of these situations where you're looking at runners, you're looking at bodies. Similar move again, where because of the false nine and the two forward setup that Liverpool have gone with, you've got that wing back on the overlap once again. This time Trent, similar situation. Goal. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did change things at half-time, went with the 4-4-2 diamond, bringing on Paul Pogba at half-time for Mason Greenwood, and it didn't kind of change anything. That wasn't really the solution to the problem. The issue that we're speaking about is this pinning of the back four, not allowing the width there. So even going for the diamond in midfield, yes, we have more horizontal coverage. One of the big things that we're speaking about there to deal with Liverpool's threat. We've got more bodies that can move from flank to flank in Fred McTominay and Pogba. We've got that there. But the big thing that the issue we've got is we can't push our fullbacks forward in possession. And it was interesting that the fifth goal of the game with the press from Liverpool, Firmino obviously involved, Henderson jumping out and putting pressure on. But if you look at Paul Pogba's options at that point when he's received the ball, yes, he takes a poor touch. Yes, he hangs on to the ball far too long when you're playing Liverpool Football Club in that central area. But there's literally no options for him. The fullbacks are deep. They're in a deep position, both sides. He could go back to McTominay maybe and then look to Luke Shaw, but there's nothing on from Paul Pogba. And it's a really, really simple goal from a pressing perspective. Henderson wins the ball. You're looking for that through ball straight away through the defence. Salah runs in behind. United concede. A lot of problems with the shape. 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 was the solution for this game. It didn't happen. Liverpool opened United's shape up. They were passive off the ball. They were passive in a defensive sense. It was an awful, awful display for Manchester United. I think when the only thing we could say from a perspective of looking at kind of where United where they look better when they brought on Diogo and went to a back five with 10 men, and that is an indication of how poor Manchester United were. And I think we can look from Roberto Firmino's heat map how important he was as the link man between the two forwards. Mohamed Salah, slightly more narrow heat map, you'd say. They're obviously heavy on that wide right position, but inside more than he has this season. And also the use of Diogo Jota, again, inside left channel. That was the key. Pinning United's back four with those two wide forwards from Liverpool, Diogo Jota and Mohamed Salah, and then having the link man in Firmino inside. A perfect display from Jurgen Klopp. Runners from midfield. Keita, massive in an attacking sense to provide that overload on that right-hand side after they attack down the left. Big problems for Liverpool, for Manchester United. And they've really got to sort some stuff out. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Again, do get into the comments below. How would you have set up Manchester United differently against Liverpool to not get beat by 5 goals? I've been Statman Dave. Check out Surface Score. We'll see you later.